but talking about wrong notes, whatever you want to call it, and
Mhm.
having, and how that feels like, because it's something like with, let's call it like guitar shredding, right? Like going really fast, whatever that is, whatever technique you're using. Because for some reason that never actually, it has never really resonated with me. I'm trying to understand it more by listening to
Mhm.
different kinds of music. So I'm not saying you're a shredder because I don't know if you don't shred that much. I think
No.
what I've heard. Uh, but what are you trying to communicate when you do occasionally shred? I guess that's my question.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a great point.
Mm,
Really good question, actually. I've always thought that it's obvious when I listen to music that the the quantity of notes elicits a response. You know, in many different ways. I'll give you examples that I bring up all the time. They're really old examples, but they work really well. Um, I used to, because people used to ask me like, why bother with technique?
right, right.
When feeling important, it's such a silly set of questions. It's so
Mm,
stupid. You don't know how to like deconstruct the question
right.
properly so that you can reveal like how silly it is. But
Mm,
so then I thought, okay, I'm just going to answer it. I'm going to say, all right, Flight of the Bumblebee. When
mm,
you hear Flight of the Bumblebee, hopefully people know what that song sounds like.
mm-hmm.
The sound of the notes makes you think of the fluttering wings of this insect.
Right.
You know, the
Mm-hmm.
way that it flies sort of erratically. It's not like a condor, right?
Right,
That's a
right, right.
whole other set of notes, right?
Yeah.
So it's this little teeny thing, and it seems to like do this and everything. So the notes are great. So you can imagine the composer just having that feeling like, look at that bee. That what does that sound like to me as it flies? And and comes up with that, and then the composer has to find somebody to play it.
Right, yeah.
So the musician who has practiced technique is sitting there waiting to make this song a reality. And now it's, most people today have heard it in cartoons. They've never sat in a symphony hall and listened to the whole piece,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more to it than just the shredding bit. But that's where shredding's really important.
Right.
It it brings to mind an image, a feeling. It represents something that we have, that a composer has realized in reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we all are in. All right, let's take another thing. The famous two notes from the movie Jaws. How perfect is that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shredding, but what that elicits, the fear that it elicits, the unknown, the tension, the anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
is so perfect. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So uh, these these elements of technique to me need to be demystified.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of shredding, a shredder, I think, you know, if we're thinking about composing and the effect of the music on people, I would say that the shredder has to think, what am I trying to accomplish here? Am I trying to make people think of these sheets of sound? Is it like something that's moving fast so that I'm playing fast to make people feel that momentum?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's a valid way of doing it.
Right.
Also, which is valid, which is totally non-musical, is I'm going to show people how great I can shred so I can get a job. Please let me
Yeah.
get a job.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring this up is because the very first instrumental record that I put together, it was an eponymous EP,
Mm-hmm.
and I brought to Shrapnel Records, and I got turned down because there wasn't enough shredding on it. And I
Wow.
remember,
Okay.
and I remember thinking, but there's just the right amount of shredding on it. Why would I thought as a composer, what song needs more shredding? And I thought neither of them. I
Right.
just can't find any song that would benefit from more notes.
Right.
But of
Right.
course, I was just looking at it from an artistic point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But from the label's point of view, they were thinking like, well, this guy doesn't play as fast as the Jason Becker, who's just a phenomenal guitar player.
Right. Right.
At the time, he was just freaky good. Who else was on that label? Ingve, Marty Friedman.
Mm.
These were
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
exceptional human beings, great shredders, and they weren't afraid. to play all the notes all the time, you know.
Right.
And but I just in my nature because I always approached it from writing first, and I
Hmm.
thought to myself, I'd rather people really notice my compositional skills
Hmm.
because I just want to be playing this stuff all the time for no reason at all. I just didn't get off on it, you know,
Right.
unless there was a direct connection. So when I found songs that I was writing that needed something really unusual technically from me, I would teach myself how to do it. It would be painful, you know, something like there's a song on the Flying in a Blue Dream album called Mystical Potato Head Groove Thing. And that took me 3 weeks of just brutal practice
Right.
to teach myself how to something I imagined would sound really cool. And it took all day in the studio to get enough arpeggios to make that song work.
Right.
And you know, and I'm still not good at it, you know, unless I sit down and work on it for weeks before a tour.
Right.
Um, but that's the way that I've always done it. I always think like, if it really makes a song happen, then I'll put the time in to do it.
Mm.
But because I don't work in a symphony, I'm not called on to play the most difficult,
Right.
you
Right.
know, technical music perfectly.
Mm.
I have the freedom to really focus on expression more,
Yeah.
and I think the body of my work in my catalog reflects that pretty honestly.
Yeah, I think so too, man.